Ben Dan, Ben Yisrael. Hallelujah.
We don't know how long this part gonna take. Your knees might get weak. May the words of my lips and the meditation of my mind be acceptable before you, O Yah, my rock and my redeemer. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
First and foremost, giving all honor and glory to the God of our forefathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzchak, and the God of Yisrael, the great, mighty, and revered God, the Most High God, creator of all things and everything. Giving respect to the leader of Beit D.C.B, Chief Prince Jediel Ben Yissaskar, to all of the men of the council, brothers, sisters, children within the sound of my voice, I bid you all in the talk of my forefathers, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Lakam.
Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Lakam.
How y'all doing today?
So,
God is good. Shalom. See my brother Peniel in the house. I apologize for everything I did to you when we were young. It was your brother's fault. Hallelujah. Amen. That's my brother. We're glad to see him in the house of God.
amen.
I only got an hour to do 6 chapters. But before I start, I want to begin to focus on why we serve God and why we only serve one God. I think in this day and time, with all of the things we see in this day, that we have to stop being passive when it comes to God's glory. I know that there are brothers and sisters out there who choose to acknowledge in some way, shape, or form a foreign God. When I say brothers and sisters, it is people who call themselves Israel, but what they're doing is practicing another form of Christianity.
Okay.
And in our desire to be nice, we forget that God's glory can't be something that we compromise.
Amen.
I don't want you mad at me, but if you get mad at me, then so be it. It's not my choice.
Right.
The truth is the truth, and we can't separate the truth. We can't dismiss the truth. We can't undermine the truth, because God's glory has to be always in the forefront of our minds. You know, I listened to 2 songs that kind of sum up what has been happening in this COVID crisis. Bob Marley, Natural Mystic. He said there's a natural mystic flowing through the air. If you listen carefully, you'll hear. This should be the first trumpet, might as well be the last. Many more will have to suffer. Many more will have to die. Don't ask me why. Things are not the way they used to be. Think about it. All of a sudden, we are going through a crisis and we don't know who's going to live and who's going to die.
Right.
We really don't know what's happening. But the second song I listened to, y'all may not like it. What's my man? Kendrick Lamar. We gonna be all right.
Okay.
I'm messed up. You're messed up. But if God got us, then we gonna be all right. Which is the truth. We don't got it all together. But if God has us, then we gonna be okay. We have to learn how to rely on God. And I don't want to come across angry to any of our brothers and sisters, but I want to tell you this. Sometimes, most of the times, we don't defend the truth. We defend our choice.
Right.
I chose to be a part of this organization, and I know I was wrong, but I'm going to defend that. I'm going to defend the fact that I'm a Christian. Not the truth in Christianity. I'm going to defend the New Testament. Not the truth in the New Testament, because there is no truth in the New Testament. There is none. We read the beginning of all things. And we didn't read anybody else but God. The beginning of all things. And God did this. And God did that. We didn't read about nobody else. So as you find yourself going back and forth with people and, the two bookers call us Old Testalites and stuff like that. Right? I don't even respect the term Old Testament because there's nothing old about God's word. That term, you hate the white man so much, that term came from the Middle Ages, from the Christian church. A white person coined that. Where did God ever say anything about my testament is old? Or my word is old? A God that lives forever, why would he say anything that has a finite point to it?
Right.
Lives forever. He's going to give us an everlasting covenant, but I'm going to give you something new. And they went and stole from the book of Jeremiah when God said, I'm going to make a new covenant with you, translated it into another term and called it testament because that's what they translated from the Greek. But God said that God didn't say I'm going to give you Jesus. God said I'm going to give you the law within your heart. That's what he said. And please, brothers and sisters, understand me. There's a reason why we need to glorify God. Because your God died. Your God died. And regardless of what you want to say, well, he was resurrected or whatever, he died. And that's nothing or a verb that we do not equate with Yah the Most High. You'll never hear that unless he's doing the killing. You'll never hear that equated with God. Amen. Our God don't die. Nope. Regardless of how you feel, there was 3 days where your God wasn't here. Uh-oh. Where he was absent. Where he was silent. Regardless of what you want to say, he was here, he went up, whatever the case may be. Your book said that he died. He died for the sins of the people. Didn't it say that? But he died. Yeah, that's it. And this is the difference in the mentality. And I want to get into the mentality of why it's wrong to reverence anything other than God. Because it's a mind state that makes you think that there can be a point in the period of life that God could disappear. When God is silent, he chooses to be silent. When God is silent, he chooses to ignore us because of our ways. But he is never absent. Understand that. And as we are dealing in these times, what we've begun to notice is that, I sat and I watched Dave Chappelle, right? And I didn't get the whole thing. He called it the closer. What's going on with Dave? What are you doing right now? Mm-hmm. And he got up and said, listen, this is going to be the last show I'm going to do in a while. Because he knows he's going to say something and he's going to get in trouble. Right. He already knew it. That's right. Right? He already knew it. But some things he needs to say. And you know why? Because y'all already rung me through the ring already. I got to remember what's going on with Dave. And I want to get this testimony out for a second. Remember, he had left and went to South Africa, right? Because he didn't agree with some of the stuff that was going on with the show. They wanted him to put on a dress. They wanted him to do some stuff that was like he felt that was beneath him. And he said, you know what? I'm out. Turned down $50 million. Left it on the table and said, listen, my integrity is better than money. And you know what? When he left, they trashed him. Media trashed him, called him a crackhead, all types of stuff. What's going on with him? And he even went on Oprah, was like, listen, I'm over the dress thing. You know what I mean? That's not, And he chose to stand up and be a man in his integrity. Disappeared for a while. We thought he was gone. He was doing the circus, the clubs, whatever the case may be. Came back and was offered $60 million to do the Netflix shows. You see how God works. Right. All he had to do was stand in his integrity and be patient. Now, even when he said what he said the last time, I didn't think he was getting at nobody, really, because he's a comedian. They shoot at the world, right? But think about this. I watched it, and I watched how many times he said the N-word. I mean, he's a black man saying the N-word, but I watched the fact that nobody's upset about that.
Right.
Nobody's upset about the other things he may have said, but they're attacking him on this, and this is what he's trying to attack. Y'all not going to silence my voice because I make jokes about a certain class, about a certain group, and they're not a class. We understand what class is. This was our marker. We couldn't go nowhere because we was black. I couldn't kiss my wife in public because I was black. You can't hide the fact that you're black. But there was never a class system when it came to the homosexuals because some of the most rich and most powerful people on this planet are homosexuals.
That's right.
So stop playing games. So when he puts it out there and lets you know, because this is what I understand, there's people that have a lot to say about me personally. But once you've been already dragged to the ring, it don't mean nothing no more.
That's right.
You already did it already. Like you did your worship already, so what are you going to do? So he doesn't have any fear because he's already been taken to task with all of y'all said your words to me already. So what else are you going to say? So I'm telling you, Israel, they're going to come after us. They're going to try to make us get the vaccine. It's not the point of whether you think the vaccine is okay or not okay. The point is you shouldn't lose your job because of your choice. That's the issue. They're going to do their worst to us. And God prophesied that. But you have to think about it. You know, there's some people that don't know whether they want to be kings or want to be prophets. Right? You just want to be special. But when you think about it, when you are a truth teller, think about every prophet that was a truth teller in our way of life. And think about whether you want that job, not the king job where everybody, oh, he's special, he's this, he's the head of this, or whatever. No, think about the prophet who don't got no friends, go places and get beat up, got to run for their life. Think about those prophets. They got to marry whores. They got to walk around naked and eat stuff they don't want to eat. Think about those prophets. Think about the prophet that got to pray for people that hate him. Think about those prophets. And think about whether you want that job or not. Because that job is not that special. It's not that nice. It's not that comfortable. But the end result is that Yah will be your reward. So when we get into the book of Noah, I'm going to do a lot to dispel some of the myths because I know we watch a lot of TV and movies. You know, growing up, I got the assumption that people were mocking Noah because he built the ark. You know, it never says that here.
Never says that.
It never says that. People are like, look at him. What is he building? Never says that.
Never says that.
And I'm going to tell you something. It makes sense that it doesn't say it because there's something that wicked people do not do.
Right.
They do not pay attention. They don't pay attention because they're busy in their folly. So he will be making an ark to rescue all life, and you'll walk by and don't even see the signs.
That's more like it.
The intelligent person will say, Noah, why are you making this ark? I'm making the ark because, you know, there's floods coming and stuff is about to happen and all life is going to be destroyed. But people were so busy in their foolishness that they didn't even see the fact that this man was rescuing all of humanity and all of the animals and everything like that because you're too busy doing what you're doing. Case in point. About 15, let me say about roughly, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there was a tsunami in Indonesia.
Right.
A bad one. Where with all of the technology that they have to see these things coming, they didn't see this one coming.
Nope.
But if they paid attention and saw that all of the animals went for higher ground instinctively. So what do the animals have in connection with God that man is missing? Were they able to walk? And they said all of the animals went up.
Right.
All of them. All of them. Even predator prey animals was walking together, going. Nobody eating each other. They're just going. So what sign did God give them that he refused to give you? And if people weren't in their folly, they would have paid attention. Don't pay attention. So let's go into the book of Noah. Portion of Noah, excuse me. Because Noah doesn't have a book. Portion of Noah. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 9. Genesis chapter 6, verse 9.
We're in the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 9. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
These are the generations of Noah. Noach was in his generations a man righteous and wholehearted. Noah walked with God.
Now, the word or the term wholehearted is interchangeable with the term perfect.
It is.
Right?
Right.
Usually when you see one, you can put in English you can put one for the other, but the same word is usually used in Hebrew. And Noah and his generations, a man righteous and wholehearted, Noah walked with God. Now, there are terms that people try to do, and I don't know whether it's in a way undermining Noah, but to term that he was righteous in his generations, right, doesn't mean that he was just a righteous guy for his time.
Right.
This man lived a couple of 100 years.
Right.
That means in a couple of 100 years, God found him worthy of everybody that was on the planet. That's a big deal.
Very big.
It's not small like you small potatoes. Like, okay, he's an okay guy. Right. You know, I'll just spare him, whatever. That means he was righteous. And you know what? It said that Noah walked with God.
Say it.
What it is, that term when you use to walk with God, that means you're in agreement with the Creator. That you do what he say do.
All the time.
In all of your life. That's why when you read about Enoch, they say that he walked with God and he was what? He was not. That means that was his legacy, that he was a man that was in agreement with the Creator. It doesn't matter how old he was when he died.
Right.
When people think, oh, he didn't live as long as Methuselah. According to the math, a lot of these guys died during this flood.
Right.
So we may think because they lived the old time that they was righteous. God only said that Noah was the one that was found worthy.
That's so.
Not his father.
No.
Not his grandfather.
Not at all.
Just him.
Amen.
And Noah begot 3 sons. Excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yes, sir.
Shit.
And Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence.
Now I want to concentrate on this violence, right? I know every year I'm not going to do all of that. I'm not going to go through the size of the ark, and I'm not going to do all of that, right? Because sometimes the point is, why did God have to destroy the earth in the first place?
Okay.
Sometimes we have to focus on that more than anything else. Not the fact that the thing for 150 days and this is... Why did God have to destroy the earth in the first place? And he used this word violence. And I want y'all to focus because what do you see happening right now?
Violence.
It got to the point, and Most High used this word specifically, kamas. Look up kamas. Violence, corruption, abuse. And the word that I want to focus on, according to from kamas, is not just violence, but it talked about injustice. Right? Injustice. There's a reason why I don't visit certain places. I don't go back to certain places.
Teach us.
Because the injustice is too extreme. Maybe you have a tolerance for certain things, but I don't. My job is different from your job. I got to know that. I got to know that my fortitude and my integrity is different from what God has given you. Doesn't mean that you're bad. But I know what my focus is. Right? I was watching Batman, The Long Halloween the other day, right? Yeah, it's a cartoon, drone cartoon. Don't tell your kids to watch it, please. But there was something going on where he found out his parents were in cahoots with the local mobster. So he asked Alfred, he said, Alfred, how can my parents be like, make a deal with the devil? Like, you know, how does that work? And he said his issue with it is that when good people go and find themselves in cahoots with bad people, it makes the bad people think that everything that they do is okay because they're validated by the good people.
Yep.
So I see you, I shake your hand, I say everything is well, and you think that the things that you did yesterday you can do right now because I patted you on the back.
Right.
And their minds are not minds that look at things the same way that everybody else does. They don't see the rationale that they actually did evil because they think evil is something you do to an individual, not something that you just do to offend God.
Right.
Woo. So he's not important. So what I did to him is not important. But you don't understand that that's the absence, the idea of the Torah is absent that thought. The idea of the Torah is that we are all one man's child that has to treat one another with love and respect. And the same theme that you read now is the same theme that you read during the Torah and the same theme that you read during the prophecies. Men don't know how to treat their fellow man. And this is why we're talking about violence and corruption, is because people didn't respect one another. I read something where a person will come to the market, right? Another interpretation of violence. A person will come to the market. They'll have a bunch of grapes on their head. By the time they finish and get to the place where, you got your little stand, whatever, all of their grapes are gone. Because the people are taking the grapes. And now this is what happens. My grapes is gone and I'm desperate because that's how I make my money. So what am I going to do after that? I'm going to rob and steal too because that's what happened to me. And we start to practice corrupt, learned behavior. This is the problem with us. The reason why we're killing each other is because we drunk of that cup of fury. And that recipe that the Most High God mixed for us is different from what he mixed from the nations.
Right.
You see, the nations, they've been doing a lot of things for a while. And you know what they're evil. They've been okay with it. Right? I'm not saying they're good, but they can handle things that we can't handle. Right. Our world is a little bit different. We go when we eat swine, we look all messed up.
Yep.
You know what? They say that white people, when they smoke crack, they become new people. Right?
Right, true.
With us, look how we look.
Downtrodden.
You go to the Bronx and you see Poppy. Poppy look terrible because that's not for Poppy.
At all.
Yeah, man, you know how that go, man. You know how it is. We doping up. Selling crack. And even when we do alcohol, them cowboys can do alcohol standing on their head.
That's right. Easy.
We do it, we finish. Done. Even our brothers and sisters, our Native American brothers and sisters, they're finished. Because they got that alcohol. We're finished. So the things that we take in, the horrors that we take in, the sexual abuse that we take in, the abuse and the violence that we take in, it destroys us. We learned the violence of our slave master and look what we're doing with it now.
Right.
Go to Chicago now. Go to Chicago. I'm not talking about the white neighborhood. Go to our neighborhood. They're killing everywhere. They're killing. You go to the mall, they're killing. If I see you, I'm going to kill you. And then they get on and make a song about it. They make a video about it. And they perpetuate the violence. So now, think about why we have to have a COVID. Why we have to have destruction. Because the violence and the corruption has gotten out of control. America want to pretend that they're not racist. I don't know. Just admit to it, man. It's just, the secret is out.
Right.
Everything that they told us was a conspiracy wound up being true. Right? Everything. Housing discrimination. Credit card discrimination. Job discrimination. Land ownership. Everything they said that we said was a conspiracy is true. Right now, there are people that go in Georgia, in certain places in the South, they go knowing that people own this property but don't have a deed because the land was passed down from generation to generation. They go to the state and try to take the people's property. And they are successful. So when God says, you shall be robbed and spoiled and oppressed always, he was not lying. And there's verifiable truth in every prophecy that the Most High God put down. But if we talk about it, And if we talk about it, we're being hateful. There's nothing hateful about the truth. That's why we have to revere God. I appeal to all of my brothers and sisters. I don't care if you ISUPK, JGOCC, IUICJ. I don't care what place you go to. Put that false God down.
Talk about it.
Put him down.
I like this. I like where you're going with this.
And I'm going to tell y'all something. All of y'all who listening, it ain't going to hurt you.
Not at all.
It will help you.
His myth, that Greek myth, is not going to hurt you.
Nope. It's a myth.
It's not the first time they tried to do that to us, but this is the first time we're carrying it on,
Right.
like, you know.
And held on to
Yeah,
it.
because we had sellout Israelites in the time of Antiochus
Exactly.
that went and decided, I want to go to the gym and wrestle butt naked. That's what we decided to do. I want to burn my flesh to uncircumcise myself. I want to be like
Right.
the Greeks.
Talk about it.
Give it up. And this is not going to be the first time I'm going to make that message. Probably not going to be the last.
Mm-hmm.
But brothers and sisters, stop defending your choice and start to acknowledge God.
Acknowledge.
Don't defend your choice. Because I know your camp is big and it's popular and y'all got some money and, you know, y'all funded by some people out there. I know what's going on. I know what's going on. Choose God.
Bring that out.
Don't choose the popularity. Choose God.
Bring that out. Thank you.
Because I don't care where I'm at. When I was out and we was burnt out, still talk strong.
That's it.
Defended what we had.
That's
Still
right.
talk strong. I'm not going to stop doing that because things get bad. Because remember, prophets have no choice. I'm not the prophet. But if you say that you're for God, then be for God, for better or for worse.
Right.
It ain't about popularity.
That's right.
Yeah, because this is America. Jesus is popular in America. He is. You know, he's great. And, you know, whether you sprinkle him with some sauce, or whether you take him raw, or whether he's black, or whether he's white, whatever, he's popular. It's the popular concept inside the minds that was forged inside your head because it was beaten to you.
Right.
You had no other option. You didn't praise nothing. You couldn't praise nothing else, so that's all you had. You look forward to Christmas because that's the day that they wasn't busting your behind.
Got free food.
So it's easy to integrate certain concepts inside your head, and now in 2021, you don't want to let it go. You're trying to integrate. And this is what the Most High God is warning us about, is trying to integrate all of these ideas. In the book, he's talking to them, talk to integration. I don't have a wife. God is telling you, I don't have a wife. I don't have a son, per se. I don't have that. You're trying to integrate. You want to worship me and worship all the other gods at the same time. It's not going to work.
Right.
Freaky stuff.
So, I know I only did one paragraph. But I just want you to begin to emphasize that God is in this world.
Yes, sir.
It's not a joke when you start losing people that are close to you.
That's right.
It's not a joke when you run around, when you go on the news and see all of the people that are being killed.
That's right.
When you see 21 deaths of people under the age of 18
That's right.
in the past couple of weeks.
Right.
And I didn't see one foreign face there. Everybody that was up there looked like
just
me.
like us. That's right.
So that hard time for Jacob, stop ignoring the signals and the signs like this is a religion. It's not a religion. Our God is real.
Right.
And he does real things.
Son.
So when the horn gets blown, pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Stop pointing and talking about, I don't like that speech. Chief Naphtali's coming up. I'm going to give a down. I'm going to give an unlike. Before I even start talking, he's teaching, I'm giving unlike. Pull up your pants.
That's right.
Your panties, your boy drawers, whatever you got. Pull them up and start being a man and a woman. And learn that our God is not a God of convenience. He is a God of righteousness and justice. If you got to take the medicine, then take the medicine. I take mine, take yours. But let's continue.
Verse 12. And Yah saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way upon the earth. And
I want y'all to understand something. The reason why he had to kill the animals too.
Say it.
He said all flesh, right, have corrupted themselves. So he's not just talking about human beings.
No, sir.
He's talking about everything that was living. There's theories that there were all types of stuff going on between men and animals at that point.
Yes, sir.
Right.
That everything lost control. And you know what? I found out that there are things that men do that influence beasts.
Right. Say it.
That influence beasts. If you run around and you want to wonder why a dog runs up to you and starts messing with your leg,
Right.
think about the owner and what they're doing with that dog at home. To think that behavior is okay, because all dogs don't do that.
Right.
I saw something funny on it was a meme, right? Because you know dogs like to lick their private parts.
Right.
That's what they do. But then at the same time, you like the dog licking you in the face. Think about it. That dog just licked everything on that side. And you better get out of my face.
Right.
But these are the things that we don't think. We are teaching the behaviors even with beasts. I watched something with beasts where they're beating beasts and breaking their legs to make them walk upright. They're doing this with dogs and cats. So think about corruption and think about the influence that you have amongst other things on this planet, because you think about the stuff that even we do now. We're not good with just growing regular food. We have to grow GMO food. There's a guy now that's making, this is not even Impossible Meat or Beyond Burger. They're making meat from a lab. Right? I saw it on TV. It's already out in the market. They're making lab-based meat. They take the cell and just do something in the lab and and they're selling that to you. Tastes just like chicken. Tastes just like this. Tastes just like this. And so you go in and get your McDonald's burger tomorrow, and your McDonald's burgers is no longer beef. Excuse me. It's no longer the little beef that they actually put inside of it. I think the rest of it was red slime or whatever they call it. I don't know, with the pink slime. But think about what we do to influence the world.
Right.
Even the beast. Tumsheet.
And God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make thee an ark of gopher wood, with room shalt thou make the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. And this is how thou shalt make it. The length of the ark 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. A light shalt thou make to the ark, and to a cubit shalt thou finish it upward. And the door of the ark thou shalt set in the side thereof with lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it. And behold, I do bring the flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under heaven. Everything that is in the earth shall perish. But I will establish my covenant with thee, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy wife, thou and thy sons and thy wife and thy sons' wives with thee. And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark. To keep them alive with thee, they shall be male and female. Of the fowl after their kind, and of the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing of the ground after its kind, 2 of every sort shalt thou come unto thee, to keep them alive. And take thou unto thee of all food that is with eaten, and gather it to thee, and it shall be for food for thee and for them. Thus did Noah, according to all that Yah commanded him, so did he.
So we've read all of the technical details, right? We read the size. We read what God required for the decks. He wanted a light in it, picture with slime within and without.
Right.
He said these are the types you want to bring in for the clean beast. So they had an understanding of the clean beast and what was unclean.
Right.
The clean beast, 7 and 7. Of the unclean beast, just bring 2, and bring food. So you got to bring everybody's food. You got to bring the giraffe's food. You got to bring the snake's food. You got to bring everybody's food, right? Everybody's food. So the most important part of what we just read was the end at 22. It said, "Thus did Noah according to all that God commanded him."
So did he.
Because it don't work if you don't follow instructions.
Teach us.
You get all the details you want.
Teach us.
So now I think sometimes we understand the correlation of why God chooses certain people to do certain things.
Right.
Because he was going to listen.
Right. Say what?
You know, he wasn't going to, okay, I'll get to it when I get to it. You know, procrastinate, do whatever you got to do, whatever. He told him, this is time. I'm about to kill everybody. Get this done.
Yeah, I would never.
He got it done. And that's what you need. That's what you're looking for to do. There's a reason why we have the Jeremiahs and the Moshes in the world and the King Davids in the world. God said that I'm going to get somebody, Saul, that's after my own heart. That means he's going to listen to what I tell him. He's not going to do what he feel like doing because he wants to be political. It's not, you know, he's not looking for the favor of the people. He's going to get the favor of the people because he's going to listen to me. But it's important that you follow instructions. And why we always have these beefs and problems with the law and Torah, and somebody wants to go off and do their own thing and do this and do that, is because people refuse to follow instructions. It's not anybody being mean or cruel, but if God gives instructions on how to do things and you refuse to do it and want to do things your own way, that's going to be a problem. You know, God is smarter than us, you know.
Right.
Smarter than us. We call him the supreme intelligence of the universe for a reason, right? He gave instructions and specifications to Noah because he knows what's going to work. I don't know if anybody ever built an ark before. Can't tell you. It's not written. But I'm going to give you the instructions for this ark. This ark is meant to sustain life. It ain't meant to go anywhere. Not a speedboat.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not a yacht.
Okay.
It's nothing. It's not even a toy that floats in your bathtub. Not a rubber ducky, none of that stuff. It's meant to sustain life. That's it. And this is going to do its job. So do your job. Tamshi.
Chapter 7. And Yahweh said unto Noah, come down all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation.
Now, I study why, you know, like, there's a thing called reinforcement. And why you see the Most High God telling people certain things. The Most High tells Joshua, some of this, be strong, have a good courage.
Right.
He's telling them over and over again some of the same thing. I found you righteous, I found you righteous. Because when you hear it, you understand the importance of what the Most High God, or the place that the Most High God put you in, and the accountability factors start to resonate inside your mind. Like, okay, the Most High God said I'm righteous, like when your father tells you, you can do it.
Hold it down.
You can do it, hold it down. When you go in there, and even if you mess up, but you know that you did your job because somebody has your back. He's encouraging you to do your best work. So when he says, I found you righteous, that means, okay, I'm righteous, I got to do this, I got to make this happen, because all humanity is dependent on me now.
That's right.
Right? For generations after generations, he's the new Adam. Right? He's the new Adam. He's the new progenitor of all life on this planet. So now, God always reinforces the same. He's telling you the same thing and telling you the same thing. So this is why sometimes I discourage, you know, and I see it. And this is another way that we practice this violence. You know, sad to say, I'm going to say parents, but I'm going to say it's usually mothers, right? I see them and I see the way they talk to their children.
Right.
You know, you're using the harshest language when it comes to your kids.
Yeah.
Dumb mother effer this, such and such and such, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, you're whatever. You stupid! You stupid! Because even if you felt that about your child, that's not the way that you correct your children.
That big.
Some of y'all think that abuse, the verbal abuse is much worse than physical abuse.
Yeah.
Trust me, because mental, I can get away from physical abuse.
Right.
Once you verbally abuse me, that stays in my mind forever.
Right.
The harshness that I feel, like, you know, that's why spankings is not a problem. Abuse, when you go overboard, hey. But spankings is not a problem. But when you destroy their spirit, because that's what was done to you, so you only know to repeat that same behavior. So you got them growing up the way they grow up now. They don't care about nothing, and they don't have no problem with killing. Because that's what they experience, hatred, since they were born. When the Most High God said, honor your mother and your father that your days may be long upon the land, he wasn't talking to just children. everybody is accountable for everybody keeping God's Torah. Everybody. There's no hegemony or hierarchy that says, I can do what I want to do, but my kids got to listen to me. Don't work that way. God knows what he's saying. If you act up, your kids are going to act up.
Right.
Your kids are going to listen to you, what you say, but going to follow the things that you do. That's why we got killed. And that's why the kids were able to see that God wasn't playing in those 40 years in the wilderness, because we were talking about, oh, they're going to kill our kids. God is trying to kill our kids. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to your kids. I'm going to kill y'all. I'm going to let your kids see that y'all going to die, and then the kids are going to go inside the land that you said that was going to be messed up,
right,
and that you said that they were going to be destroyed and they were going to die in the wilderness. I'm going to let them go in the land, and you're going to die out here.
Right.
How about that? How about that? We got to understand that the Most High God is controlling, that all of us are accountable for every bit of his word. You know, I wish I can escape. You know, people think they can escape. I'm a woman. I don't got to do that part. No, you got to do it.
Yeah.
I'm a male. I don't got to know about that. No, you got to know about that part.
Yeah.
You got to do that part. I may not go into the holies. I'm never going to go into the holies of holies. I'm a Danite. It's not my portion.
It's not my portion.
Never going to go there. And that's good. But I know everything that goes on.
That's right.
I know what's inside. I know what the high priest is supposed to do if I study. Even if it's not my portion. Come sheet. Go to 7.
Verse 2. Of every clean beast thou shalt make to thee 7 and 7, each with his mate. And of the beasts that are not clean, 2 and 2, each with his mate. Of the fowl also of the air, 7 and 7, male and female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth, 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made will I blot out from off the face of the earth. And Noach did according to all that Yahweh commanded him.
Again, God repeats the same thing, and the writer writes down what's important.
Right.
And Noah did according to all Yah commanded.
Right.
Come sheet.
And Noach was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. And Noach went in, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him, into the ark because of the waters of the flood, of clean beasts, and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and of everything that creepeth upon the ground. There went in 2 and 2 unto Noach into the ark, male and female, as Yah commanded Noach. And it came to pass after the 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth, in the 600th year of Noach's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken, and the windows of heaven were opened, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And the selfsame day entered Noach and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noach and Noach's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. They and every beast after its kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after its kind, and every fowl after its kind, every bird of every sort. And they went in unto Noach into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. And they that went in male and female of all flesh, as God commanded him, and Jehovah shut him in. And the flood was 40 days and upon the earth, and the waters increased, and bore up the ark, and it was lifted up above the earth. And the waters prevailed and increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high mountains that were under the whole heaven were covered.
Now, it's funny, you know, that the Bible critics, I don't hear them talking too much, because now you see the reality of what water actually does. You know?
Right.
This year, there were like 2 instances, right? It's 2, where you had one thing, and they call it flash floods.
Right.
We're going to have flash flood warning, whatever. And one was bad, like, you know, some streets got messed up, whatever the case may be. And then the second one was they didn't predict or understand it was going to be worse. And the problem is this area is not flood prone.
Right.
The Northeast is not a flood prone place. So they build around it not being flood prone. And what God does is show us clearly that there's no way you can defend against anything that I do. Right? Because now you have, and those the rain, these rains don't last that long. You're talking about 40 days that destroyed the earth when you can see what the Most High God does in 12 hours. there were like 21 people that they know of that passed away because of the floods. Accidents that happened. People got stuck in their cars. Even around here, around my way, I was like, why is the car in the middle of the street? Because it floated away. Thank God my car didn't, but there was cars that just floated away. That depending on where you lived and where your car was parked, that car got filled up with water and it just started to move. And it's a sad thing because there's people that we don't get flood insurance up here.
Yep.
And there's no way they can repair their houses because they never have flood insurance, so they just got to come out their pockets, and nobody don't got money like that. You know what I mean? If you got the house, that means you got more money going out. But this shows that the Most High God's glory is going to be something that we're going to see, especially in this day and time.
That's right.
And things are happening in a rapid pace.
Right.
And what we have to do is pay attention.
That's right.
Always pay attention. If God gives you a tap, a little sprinkle here, a little sprinkle there, if he's showing you that in one country, one side of the country has floods, the other side of the country's on fire, what's going on? And everybody else in the middle is dying of a disease.
Whew.
Think about it. And think about what we have to do. This is my station, but this is not my home. We have to think about making a home for ourselves, preparing a home for ourselves. There's things we're going to have to do to get closer together, to work harder, but I get it. We just have to make sure that we prepare for our exodus, you know. And when I say that, it may be 100 years from now, 200 years from now, but you may have to prepare that long. Mind states have to change. Attitudes got to be better.
There you go, mind state.
Cooperation has to be there. And it may take some Israelites a couple hundred years to achieve that goal. But we have to do it. Tamshik.
15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. And all flesh perished that moved upon the earth, both fowl and cattle and beasts and every swarming thing that swarmeth upon the earth, and every man. All in whose nostrils was the breath of the spirit of life, whatsoever was in the dry land died. And he blotted out every living substance which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle and creeping thing, and fowl of the heaven, and they were blotted out from the earth. And Noach only was left, and they that were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. Chapter 8. And Yah remembered Noah, and every living thing, and all the cattle that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of 150 days, the waters decreased. And the ark rested in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month upon the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. And in the 10th month on the 1st day of the month were the tops of the mountains seen. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noach opened the window of the ark which he had made, and he sent forth a raven, and it went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up from off the earth. And he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her feet. And she returned unto him to the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. And he put forth his hand and took her, and brought her in unto him into the ark. And he stayed yet other 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came into him at eventide, and lo, in her mouth an olive leaf, freshly plucked. So Noach knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. And he stayed yet other 7 days, and sent forth the dove, and she returned not again unto him any more. And then it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth. And Noach removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dried. And in the 2nd month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, was the earth dry. And Yah spoke unto Noach, saying, Go forth from the ark, thou and thy wife and thy sons' wives with thee. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both fowl and cattle, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may swarm in the earth, and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. And Noach went forth, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him, every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl whatsoever moveth upon the earth, after their families went forth out of the ark.
Now, chapter 8 is basically talking about the process of the flood receding and the exit strategy, right? Finding out whether or not the earth was in a place where they can go actually outside of it. Even though the waters receded, that doesn't make the earth habitable at this point. And you got to remember something. What we don't think about is Noach is thinking about everybody and everything. That's why God said, you go out and everything else go out, because you got to think about their habitat too. You know, they're going to go out and starve, can't eat because their vegetation is not ready and stuff. So that's why it was a process in them trying to find out what was actually going on. You know, you can go out, you're going to be stepping in mud for a couple of months. Don't make no sense. But waters are going, but it's not dry yet. Right? Dry. It got to be available. It got to be in a place where they can actually exist and live and, you know, coexist. Tumshi.
And Noach built an altar unto Yahweh and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And Yahweh smelled the sweet savor. And Yahweh said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more every living thing, everything living as I have done. While the earth remain of seed time and harvest and cold and heat and summer and winter and day and night shall not cease.
Amen.
Chapter 9. And Yah blessed Noach and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, and upon all wherewith the ground teemeth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that liveth shall be for food for you. As the green herb have I given you all. Only flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it. And at the hand of man, even at the hand of every man's brother, will I require the life of man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Yah made he man.
Amen.
And you be ye fruitful and multiply, swarm in the earth and multiply therein. And Yah spoke unto Noach and to his sons with him, saying, as for me, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the fowl, the cattle, and every beast of the earth with you, of all that go out of the ark, even every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of the flood, neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. And Yah said,
a flood.
Mm-hmm.
A flood.
A flood. Okay.
He's not going to just do it straight by flood. Tumshi.
And Yah said, this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass when I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the cloud, that I will remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the water shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between Yah and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth.
Now, it's a shame that we live in a time where God's beautiful son is being co-opted.
Talk about that. Talk about that.
You know, I can't even see myself wearing nothing with a rainbow on it no more, because what it signifies.
Right.
But it'll come a day where the Most High, these are the things that the Most High God has to take his vengeance for. Because that's not the reason why he made that.
Right.
He didn't make it for a sign for that.
Right. Talk about it.
He made it for a sign for us to remember his covenant. That he won't destroy the earth anymore. That he doesn't have to do us damage anymore. Because he knows that we're sick. And I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to destroy the earth with the flood. And this is the agreement, you know, because the Most High makes agreements with man. And there's signs that come with these agreements. We have signs in our flesh. We have the Shabbat day. We have different things that we do. And that's part of his sign. But eventually the Most High God will let you know how he feels.
Mm-hmm. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between Yah and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth.
So when this stuff passes, we see that bow in the sky, because it's everlasting. God will outlast everything. So we don't have to worry about it anymore.
And Yah said unto Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. And the sons of Noach that went forth from the ark were Shem, and Ham, and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noach, and of these was the whole earth overspread. And Noach, the husbandman, began and planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and was drunken. And he was uncovered within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noach awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done unto him, and he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And he said, Blessed be Yahweh the God of Shem, and let Canaan be their servant. God enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be their servant. And Noach lived after the flood 350 years, and all the days of Noach were 950 years, and he died.
So the last portion that he just read, a little bit of time that I have, I want to go over it because it's one of the most controversial portions in all of the Holy Scriptures.
Right.
Some of you are going to disagree with me right now. But I want to make sure that this is emphasized, and I want you to be able to do the research on it. A lot of the concept and what we've been taught in this portion came from our European church background.
Yes. Talk about it.
Number one, there's always been this idea that Ham is the African race, and that Shem is the Asiatic race, and that Japheth is the European race. I want you to begin to understand that based on where they live has nothing to do with their phenotype. Right? Understand that part. Doesn't make anybody white, black, because if you get into the science, even the history books that I've read, they have Egyptians as Caucasians. They have people that live in the Sudan as Caucasians. And I'm saying this for a particular reason. White folks don't know what they're talking about.
That's it. That's it. Just like that. Make it plain.
If you take and try to make history from a European white supremacy point of view, then everything is going to be tainted because it's not objective. You're going to skew facts. You're going to say things that don't make sense. And a matter of fact, it's the fact that you didn't write this book and you weren't here for any of this.
Right.
When you decided to stop being Vikings and you adapt to Christianity, that's kind of when your knowledge started to increase about things, and you had to travel to certain places to learn certain things. So you only know what you've been told and what was taught. Even when it comes to Hebrew, there's people that, case in point, Takash, right?
Right. Talk about it.
They wrote down sealskins when they started to interpret and try to find out what they were talking about. And the reason why they wrote, because why would God put an unclean animal in his temple? Like, we just thought about that for years. Why would he do that? It ain't sealskin. The reason why is because when they went to the regions that are on the Red Sea, they said, what's that? They called it something to Takash, and it sounded close to Takash, so they said it must be that. That's not the way you deduce and make decisions. We're going to go to the closest thing that sounds like what we're thinking about, and then we're going to make that what it is. That's not the way you do things. So I clearly understand that a lot of our thought towards this goes in other ways. Number one, some of us assume that because he was naked and Ham saw him, that something sexual must have happened. Did you see here that was written that says anything sexual happened? Mm-hmm. And I think we have a problem because we go into certain places in the Tanakh, and because we don't see all the picture, we start to infuse our own understanding in things, and it don't exist. So when you read the Babylonian Talmud, they talked about stuff about he castrated him, he did some sodomy to him, he did all stuff, he did some stuff to his wife. None of that is written here. It's not even an assumption. Where do you get it from? Because a lot of their culture, you're going to read a lot of the culture, when they adapted our way of life, they infused a lot of their personal culture inside the stuff that they see here. So everything is hyper-sexed out. Some sodomite stuff is going on. Stuff that God talked about that happened in the book, that's what happened. When they tried to rape Lot, that was real. Yeah. They tried to rape Lot. God said so. Right? When Dinah was taken, when Amnon raped his sister Tamar, that was real stuff. Mm-hmm. The penman didn't hold back when it came to that filth. But all of a sudden, I'm going to leave all of this out. I'm going to write this stuff, but I'm going to leave it all out so that you can just figure it out for yourself. Ham did something where he told his brothers without, and whatever happened that Noah felt that was shameful, it was shameful. Don't use your imagination. Read what's there. Number one, the idea that you have 3 different races from one man called Noah is preposterous. Shem, Ham, and Noah were black. The scientific reason for it is they have no reason why they weren't black. The only thing that changes our skin color is environment and certain vitamins. That's it. So if they were all in the same place for hundreds of years, what makes you think that all of a sudden they came out mutated? But what the Talmud tells you is that when Noah cursed Ham, or he cursed Canaan, he told Canaan, your skin is going to be black, your hair is going to be nappy, and your eyes are going to be big. And I'm still trying to find it, right? Because according to research, even Jewish scholars say there is no color prejudice in the Tanakh amongst early writers. That stuff started in the Middle Ages. I'm going to tell you why that started in the Middle Ages. Do you remember the part in the book of Nehemiah? Nehemiah said, get rid of those kids. Right? Get rid of those kids. The problem wasn't the fact that their mothers were not Israelites. The fact that they were part of a hybrid culture that were going to practice some Torah when they wanted to and some Babylonian ways when they wanted to. And they will come down the pipeline calling themselves Jews.
Right.
But absorbing the practice of the nations. So this is why you have problems in people that don't understand because they were never there. Do you wonder why some of us went back to the homeland and some of us stayed in the places like Babylon? Because they wanted to be there. So now, you have this whole idea of cursed be Canaan, and this is what was used to justify the enslavement of black people all around the world. The God said, Canaan, I'm going to make you black. Canaan was one subgroup from all of Ham's kids.
Right.
One subgroup from all of Ham's kids. And because white supremacy took over everything, we begin to understand everything, especially from our Christian background, from the white supremacy lens. Were Japheth's descendants black? Yes, they were. And they were white. Right now, you have a people called the Kochins that live in Russia. They didn't migrate to Russia, they live in Russia. Right now, you have black Greeks in Greece right now, and I'm not talking about people who are slaves, people who are black right now. The Sicilian population was taken over by Rome. They were a different breed of people than Rome. But the Italians came and took them over. So in essence, they became lighter when the lighter-skinned people came down to them. What I'm trying to tell you is that the whole first world was black. And through time, this is recorded history, through time, there were ice ages and periods and places on this world that were cut off from sunlight. So like us that can produce vitamin D from the sun, they couldn't. So they lost color and they began to get their vitamin D from another source. And that's why we look different. When you see these movies and you see people with blue eyes, people that live in those regions don't have blue eyes. Blue eyes is less than 1% of the people on the planet have blue eyes. They can trace where blue eyes actually come from. They can trace where blonde hair actually comes from. You find people with blue eyes in certain parts of Europe, and you find the dark-skinned people in Australia with blue eyes and blonde hair. So we have to begin to research and dispel this myth, because oftentimes you got Israelites talking about, yeah, he's a Hamite. How do you know he's a Hamite? Because you know, and all of these people, you're going to remember, I'm not even going to be able to go through the portion, but when we were at the Tower of Babel, everybody was there. All of the nations was there. So how can you discriminate and say who's like, because somebody's dark, You got people out of Nilotic that live close to the equator that their skin is blue-black, and these are some of the most beautiful people on the planet. Even everybody looks at them and say, listen, their skin looks flawless. They look like when they're in the sun, it looks like gold, and their teeth is white. I don't know. And they're tall. And then in the same continent, you got people that are short, big nose, and nappy. This is the way the diversity of the way the Most High God made this world. You got people in South Africa that their skin is light, and their eyes are chinky. They look just like Chinese people. What I'm here to tell you is that the race myth is whack. God does what he wants to do. He makes grizzly bears.
That's right.
He makes polar bears. He makes black panthers. He makes cheetahs. He makes lions. He makes tigers. He does what he wants to do.
Hallelujah.
Let's go to
11.
Yeah, we're going to go to 11. So I can just give a synopsis. What actually happens is the chart of mankind. So what I do want to explain before I get out of here is that do not take the chart in the same face value that we took the chart in the past, especially not from our Christian backgrounds, because sometimes you're going to read that these men had sons. Those were the actual sons. Sometimes you'll read about different subgroups that came from these people, right? Like you had Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim had subgroups that people that they control. That doesn't necessarily mean that they were descendants of Mitzrayim, right? It says that and these people and these people and these people. That doesn't mean that those people that were descendants, it says these sons, these people had certain sons. You read that about Shem. You read that a lot about Yafet. You read about different people that had sons, and it talks about the sons and what they became later on. But I have to explain that because like you'll read about Nimrod who conquered certain lands, and it tells you that Assyrians Ashur came out of them, right? But Ashur is not a Canaanite nation; it's a Shemitic nation, and it will tell you later on that Ashur was a descendant of Shem. But as far as their national building in the region that they lived in that area where Nimrod conquered. But that doesn't make them of the same ethnicity, right? Let's just explain that. But read it over and you'll get the point of what I'm trying to discuss. 11 talks about the Tower of Babel. And just to emphasize that point, the whole challenge of the Tower of Babel is we wanted to create a tower because we want to do wicked again, and we don't want God flooding. So if we got the tower, if he floods, we can escape the flood because we got somewhere that we can go just in case it floods again. So God says, let us come down, right, and confound their language so that he gave us confusion so that we won't be able to cooperate so that we can challenge God. And the bad thing about us, even in the day and time, a lot of what we do is we try to snub God, everything that we try to do. And that's why the Most High God says man sought out witty inventions and wicked inventions.
That's right.
Because we're always trying to do stuff to challenge God. We don't want to eat right. We want to make stuff in the lab. We want to make a genetic lamb, and we want to do all types of stuff. And at one time they tried to make a kosher pig. This is us, right? Yeah, they said because pig has a split hoof,
right,
but it doesn't to the cut. So they said, well, if they choose the cut, it's a clean, and you got actually people that wanted to eat pork, so they tried to make a kosher pig.
Right.
But this is the inventions of man, right? Now you got people that are trying to put babies in men and give them breasts so they can suckle a baby after the baby is born. This is the inventions of man. And this is why God has to do some destruction right now. Right? So we're going to understand. Okay, and then we go into the lineage of Shem because we're going to our father. And I want you to start at 27 and read to the end.
Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Avram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begot Lot. And Haran died in the presence of his father Terah in the land of his nativity in Ur of the Chaldees. And Avram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai. And the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and the father of Iscah. And Sarai was barren. She had no child. And Terah took Avram his son, and Lot the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Avram's wife. And they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. And they came unto Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah were 205 years. And Terah died in Haran. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Now we are going to begin next week to read the life of our forefather Abraham.
Right.
Our teacher, Chief Naphtali, Naphtali, taught us that the reason why Abraham came into existence or came into play is so that he doesn't have to destroy the earth the same way he did in the past.
Right.
And it makes perfect sense because Abraham was a man that taught other people how to be humane.
Right.
And this is one of the biggest issues that you begin to see throughout the Torah, even amongst Israel, the way we treat one another. We treat one another. We don't know how to give each other or maintain humanity when it comes to our fellow man and when it comes to our brothers and sisters. So I hope you got something out of what was said. I hope the Most High God allows us to have a fruitful and prosperous week. I hope He bless your week this week. I hope the Most High God has mercy upon us all. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Amen.